Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Scott and Jaime Show. I'm Scott with Velocity.
And I'm Jaime, also with Velocity.
And this week's topic is how to not take things so personally. Jaime. I say it as if you are the one who does it the most.
Well, that might be true, but that sounded like an announcer, like Dan Rather on 60 Minutes.
You know I...
6 minutes?
Well, I think he was for a while, but he's been retired for probably 20 years. No, not that long, but he hasn't been around in a while.
This week on 60 Minutes, how not to take things personally. Back to you, Scott.
You know I love to have that newscaster voice. It's always been a dream of mine to be a newscaster.
Yeah, so, all right, let's actually talk about this topic.
Yes, because it's an important one.
Yeah, I think a lot of misunderstandings that we have, a lot of hurt feelings that we have with other people and communicating with them is when we are taking something personally that maybe we shouldn't be, right? So recently we had 2 trainings with 2 separate groups, and in the first group the training went amazing.
Yes, it did.
Right? Everybody was engaged and excited and really interested in the topic and materials, and we had a great time giving that training. In the second training, it was later on in the afternoon, and everybody was like bored and looking at their cell phones and not engaged, and it was really frustrating, you know, and you're like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Why did this training go so much worse than the first one? Right? So you get back in the car and you're beating yourself up going, oh, I'm a terrible trainer, I can't believe this happened.
And you never spend any time thinking about all the possible variables that could have influenced the fact that the training didn't go well. And in fact, in many ways, it's sort of narcissistic to assume that it's all about you. That if only you had done something different, you would have come in and saved the day.
Right.
When, in fact, there are so many other things. And we often talk about in coaching, how do you empathize with another party when you feel like they've wronged you? The only way you can even begin the process of understanding someone else's point of view is to stop taking things so personally. And Jaime, I love the quote you remind me of every single time I do it. And I do it when, especially now, well, I belong to this amazingly dynamic networking group. And when someone leaves the group, not because they're moving away or because of some other circumstance, but because they're just not interested in being in the group anymore, I always think, oh gosh, they're not having fun. What could I do differently? How could I entertain them more?
Right.
How could I, make this a little bit sexier for people? Even though networking isn't very sexy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated instead of thinking, you know what? They just weren't that into it.
Yeah.
And then I think, Jaime, in relationships, like intimate relationships, how do you not take it personally when someone wants to break up with you?
I mean, I think you do.
Right, don't you?
You do take it personally.
Right, right.
Right?
And it reminds me of the Sex and the City episode, because I only quote from Seinfeld, Frasier, Friends, and Sex and the City, where one of her boyfriends told Charlotte or Miranda that maybe he just wasn't that into you. And I think that's what it comes down to, that yes, you are a factor in any breakup, and it's okay if someone's not into you.
Yeah, it's not saying something about who you are as a person, like you're deficient. It's just saying, maybe this isn't a good match. Same with that BNI. Maybe it's not a good match. Maybe this training wasn't a good match for the audience at that time. So 2 things that I say a lot to clients. And the first is something that I think is so important that I actually have it printed out and hanging on my wall. And that is, what people say is about them, how you respond is about you. And
I think that's what's so important about that is you can respond as a passive victim or you can respond as an active agent. That is your choice. You can take responsibility and be the active agent and try to find solutions that work for both of you, or you can be the passive victim who says, why does this always happen to me, blame the other person, and just walk away.
Right. And I think what we're saying when we say what people say is about them is it's really coming from their experience and their point of view and what's going on. And Covey talks about this in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that you seek first to understand before being understood. And the reason for that is, let's actually look at what happened in those 2 trainings. The first training that we did that went wonderfully happened the very first thing in the morning while people were excited to be in this all-day meeting, ready to go, and so, nothing else had happened in their day because they had just gotten up. The second training happened late in the afternoon after a full day of budget talks.
Right, right.
Right? Of course they were not in the mood to hear what we had to say. So empathizing with them, understanding what their point of view was, makes it much less personal.
Absolutely. So remember, some lessons from now, from this particular episode, is what people say is about them and how you respond is always about you. So think about how you're responding and understand that empathy starts with you not taking things personally and seeking to understand and then taking action once you do understand. Yeah, Jaime, another great episode.
Yes, thanks so much.
And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Scott and Jaime Show. Bye for now.
Bye, Landon.